In this video, I want to talk about understanding post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of people coming out of abusive relationships experience the symptoms of C-PTSD, and in this video I want to look at what it is and what the difference between PTSD and C-PTSD are, and what you can do to help yourself recover from this trauma. Hello, my name is Elizabeth Goddard from Revive Your Soul, and on this channel I'll talk about healing from emotional abuse and breaking the invisible chains, the trauma bonds that were created. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe, and if you're returning, thank you so much and welcome back. And I'd also like to say a massive thank you to all my new subscribers over the last few weeks. It's been amazing. Thank you so much. So I want to talk about complex post-traumatic stress disorder and what you can do to help yourself recover. A lot of people will not even realise that what they're experiencing is due to the trauma that they went through, and they don't understand the effects the relationship has had on them and their emotions, or the emotional scars that it leaves on them. And some might even minimise their experience when they hear what other people have been through, not realising they've experienced something just as traumatic. A lot of people have heard of PTSD and they might associate it with war. Post-traumatic stress disorder is the result of a traumatic event or a series of connected events over a short period of time. So we hear about soldiers coming back from war and suffering from PTSD. But do we really know what it does to a person? We hear that some lose their families, some become homeless, and some form an addiction. PTSD is experiencing trauma from one single event or a series of events over a short period of time, which damages them psychologically. It becomes complex, C-PTSD, when the trauma goes on over a longer period for months and years. C-PTSD is a psychological injury resulting from repeated trauma. So the difference is PTSD is following one event or a few events over a shorter time frame, whereas complex post-traumatic stress disorder is a psychological injury resulting from repeated trauma over a long period of time. It is not uncommon coming out of an emotionally abusive relationship to experience complex post-traumatic stress disorder. You unwittingly entered a war zone. Very gradually, you found yourself under fire. At the end of the relationship, you may have found yourself reliving the traumatic experience, having nightmares or emotional flashbacks. You might find you're avoiding certain situations, or you feel constantly on alert or jittery or easily startled. So the common symptoms of complex post-traumatic stress disorder are emotional flashbacks. These are sudden and overwhelming feelings triggering your survival instincts. These emotions can include fear, shame, alienation, rage, grief, and depression. They can range from subtle memories to horrific, and they vary in duration from moments to weeks. Or you might experience the inner or outer critic. This is a self-berating, the dialogue that runs in your head, believing this was all your fault, telling you what you did wrong, recalling all the situations and reliving them to prove that what you have been told, that you are bad, that nobody cares about you or loves you, that you are worthless, stupid, ugly. This dialogue is installed at an early age. The inner critic highlights all the times that we have done this, that we have felt like this, and every relationship that we've experienced where we have been abandoned. With C-PTSD, they experience toxic shame. The fundamental belief underlying shame is that I am unlovable. Internalized shame can manifest as beliefs as I'm stupid, unattractive, I'm a failure, a bad person, I'm a fraud or I'm phony, I'm selfish, I'm not enough, I hate myself, I don't matter, I shouldn't have been born, I'm unlovable. They might experience self-abandonment, social anxiety, feelings of loneliness and abandonment, fragile self-esteem, attachment disorders, relationship difficulties, radical mood swings. The hair-triggered fight-flight response, so the fight-flight fawn-freeze responses, where the fight and flight or stress responses when faced with a dangerous situation. We make an instant decision. We either stay and fight, or we run, we take flight. So our brains make that split decision by scanning the area and deciding if we get away safely or if we need to stay and fight. And adrenaline is released into the body. Whereas fawning is a response used when a person perceives a threat. So instead of running away or fighting, they respond in a pleasing way, and the technique is used to calm down the situation or to stall the threat of the attacker. They might talk their way out of a situation, or displaying exaggerated flattery or affection towards the abuser. And freeze is the response triggered when a person can't win, where they can't fight or take flight, and they can't calm down a situation. Animals use freeze by playing dead. In itself, freeze is quite a terrifying thing to experience on top of everything else that you're going through. Some of the other symptoms of C-PTSD are oversensitivity to stressful situations, suicidal ideation. Suicidal ideation is experiencing thoughts of not wanting to be in this world, not wanting to be alive, fantasizing or wanting to die. You might wake in the morning realizing that you're still alive, wondering how you're going to get through another day. You might believe that there's nothing left to live for. You might think about having an accident or walking in front of a vehicle or going to sleep and never waking up. This is passive suicidality. It's not a serious attempt to kill yourself, whereas active suicidality is where a person is actively proceeding in the direction of taking their own life. This is less common, but if you are having these thoughts, please reach out to someone like the Samaritans or someone who can help you. C-PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, is where the trauma is experienced over a longer period of time. This is a psychological injury of experiencing trauma or having your life threatened, or the lives of people that you love and care about threatened. Mental and emotional trauma is the result of living in unsafe environments. You might experience unwanted thoughts and feelings, or a strong physical reaction or strong memories. They might come in the form of nightmares or dark dreams in which you have no control over. Some techniques that you might find in coping or dealing with C-PTSD are either avoiding or numbing, and for some it's both. So you might find yourself avoiding people and places to protect yourself, or you might find you're using substances to numb out the pain. While this might work on the short term, it isn't the answer, and this trauma runs deep and it needs tracing back to where it came from. And you might be on alert, constantly looking over your shoulder, living in survival mode. The strain it puts on your mind and your body is huge, particularly your nervous system and your adrenals. Adrenal fatigue is also very common coming out of these relationships. The stress caused by the emotionally abusive relationship triggers the hormones cortisol, adrenaline and noradrenaline, which causes the hippocampus to shrink. So the adrenals are the glands that sit on top of the kidneys, and they produce hormones. One of the most important hormones produced here is cortisol, and cortisol helps with our response to stress. And the fatigue is the term used to describe an overall feeling of tiredness or lack of energy. But unlike feeling sleepy or tired, fatigue is having no energy from the moment you wake until the moment you go to bed, and you're on a loop day after day after day. Adrenal fatigue is a term used to describe non-specific symptoms. The term is not commonly recognised by health professionals, but by alternative health practitioners who have more of an understanding. The term was coined at the end of the 1990s by James Wilson, a naturopath and chiropractor. The hypothalamus, which is a small region in the brain, it sends a message to the pituitary gland, which then sends a message to adrenals to release the hormones for fight or flight. This response is designed to be short term, and then your body goes into recovery. When there is a continuous release of these hormones, our bodies never get a chance to recover. And it puts so much pressure not only on the body, but on the adrenal glands. And it causes an imbalance in cortisol. You might wake up tired, perhaps sleeping through your alarm or hitting the snooze button. You may find your energy crashes during the day. And during the evening, you might fall asleep. And then when you go to bed, you're wide awake for hours. And damage to the hippocampus can happen when a child or adult experiences criticism, belittling, name-calling, yelling, swearing, verbal humiliation. I think one of the hardest things to understand is for this to have happened to you as an adult means you more than likely experienced some form of trauma during your childhood. And this has caused a chemical change in your brain and how you see yourself and the world. When you come out of this type of relationship, it affects how you view everything and your trust changes. You have no idea who you can trust anymore. And it's also likely not only do you self-isolate, but you also experience feelings of loneliness and abandonment. You might experience insomnia or being really jumpy and experiencing those hair trigger fight or flight stress responses. You might turn to alcohol, food, shopping, overeating, sex as ways of numbing out the pain. You might constantly ask yourself why you didn't leave sooner, why you didn't realize what was happening to you. This abuse is drip fed. You get trapped and addicted, and your abuser creates situations to threaten your safety. And it is them you turn to for protection. You saw the red flags, but they are the master of manipulation, and you saw something in them, possibly their damaged inner child, and you wanted to help them. So each time they broke down a boundary or overstepped one, they fed you with a story, or they made you believe that it was your fault. And they do this intentionally. They trap you. And when they've broken you, they abuse you even further by discarding you. They needed to prove to you, to themselves and all the people around them, that this wasn't their fault and it was you that was faulty. Your self-esteem is now non-existent. And when they know they have done enough to prove that you're the problem, they feel good about leaving and they walk away. There's also another reason that they behave in this calculated way, and this is about the quality of supply they get from you. It's about the reaction they get from you by ending the relationship. And now it might be the other way around and you realise that you've been in an unhealthy relationship and you managed to get out. But don't believe because you made that discovery and you managed to leave that you won't experience the symptoms of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Personally, for me, travel saved me. I didn't realise I was running away, but when I was away and on my own, I wasn't constantly looking over my shoulder. I still experienced some other triggers, but it allowed me to calm my body down, which was a plus. I also created morning and evening routines, and that took my focus to me. I believe they create safety, and one of the biggest things that has been missing in your life is feeling safe. And they give you little subconscious messages that you are worthy. This is one of the reasons it's so important to go no contact or to go grey rock. And you can see my video, Does Grey Rock Work? I'll put the links to that below. By being in contact with the abuser, you're still on alert. Your body needs time to detach from them. The nervous system needs time to calm down. So if you're experiencing the signs of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, creating space in your life is really helpful. You might be constantly looking over your shoulder or wondering if you're being watched through social media. Take time out, go outside, learn the grounding techniques that are going to help you get through this, and create a safe space within your home, somewhere that you feel really safe, where you can breathe deeply. If you'd like to find out more about working with me on a one-to-one basis, you can visit my website, reviveyoursoul.co.uk, or you can send me an email, info@reviveyoursoul.co.uk. I'm going to put some links in the description box below on resources. I'm also going to put the links to both my books, Finding Lily and The A to Z of Emotional Abuse. And if you can, please don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the channel. And I'm sending you loads and loads and loads of love.